Hi, I'm Rachel, a Radical Soul Untangled. So, I got a new deck the other day. I was at Half Price Books and I saw this for $10. Tarot, book and card, very vague, very pretty box. Cool imagery, like the color. No pictures of what the deck looks like, but it does say that it's a Marseille deck. And I was like, oh, okay, I've heard of the Marseille deck. Not really sure what the main differences are with the standard Rider-Waite Smith deck, but I'm curious. And you look at the back and it looks all cool and new agey, but you look at the aces here of the different suits, looks fairly similar. We have like kind of like a hand of God in some of these, divine hand. Two of them we don't, and all four of these ones we do. And then you look at the majors and we're like, okay, this is the Marseille deck, the Fool. Now they number at 21, so just before the World. And then we have the Fool here, which tends to be numbered 0. So okay, kind of similar. Both have the Bindle staff. Both have the dog hopping and chasing after them. This one's about to, walk off a cliff, and this one, he's still looking up, up instead of like, straight ahead. So, but yeah, you look at the art here, the Hermit, it's a lot more stripped down imagery. And not a lot of expression on the faces here. Strength, it's very, kind of like medieval or early Renaissance woodcutting kind of art style. And also kept the King of Cups, Knight of Cups there. So just somebody on a horse, and their faces are pretty placid to hopeless, that's kind of how I feel about it. So Chariot, similar to the more familiar Rider-Waite Smith. Death, there's this Death card, a little more grim. The Hanged Man. So like I said, just more kind of stripped down. Not a lot of imagery or emotional energy to really go off of. Page of Wands, King of Swords, Star, so some similarities, but Wheel of Fortune. And the colors are very limited, so it really is red, yellow, blue, and a little bit of green, but not a lot of green. So I'm not going to be using too much of my chakra color analysis that I'm so fond of doing this time. And then we have the the Moon, Death card, Queen of Wands. A lot more imagery around the Queen. We got the flowers, we've got the black cat, we've got the lions at her throne, we've got the yellow robe, the lions in the background, more sunflowers, all kinds of yummy imagery to go off of. King of Pentacles, his robe's covered in, grapevines. He's got the bowl for like Taurus. He's surrounded and he's like in a vineyard. He's got his pentacle. He's got a, flowery crown, Queen of Pentacles. She's holding her pentacle. She's in a stone throne. There's a rabbit. There's flowers around her. Green, red, all kinds of things to go off of here. The Devil's kind of similar with the other one. So yeah, you can see more lush imagery, more colors, more detail in the Rider-Waite Smith deck. So, and that's, it kind of makes it a lot more fun, a lot more visually appealing, a lot more to pick out in your interpretations. I like that. Then these, I feel like you kind of have to have a little bit more memorized. And I feel like if they didn't put, the Magician at the bottom, or like the High Priestess, it would be hard to tell like who is who in this deck. Like King of Swords, Knight of Wands. So you can tell because they have the thing with them, but yeah, Justice, you know, it would, she's got the scales and the sword, but, you know, it could be tricky, you know, if you're in the middle of a read, telling her from the Queen of Swords, you know, she's got a sword, she's got a sword. Oh, but she's got scales, but the colors, the robes are practically identical. So yeah, if I feel like if these didn't have, the world's about the same. So some of these are about the same, but again, the moon is about the same. You know, I got the two dogs, the moon, the crayfish, lobster critter there. Some of these are similar, but when it comes to like the people, it's a lot harder to tell them apart than it is in here, without the words. But what really makes it stand out is their minor arcana. The minor arcana is this, and this one really took me a second, kind of drove me nuts. So here's swords. Okay, Ace of Swords looks very similar, you know, to the Rider-Waite Smith, you know, and you know, I believe this is the precursor because this was designed in like just over 100 years ago, 110 years ago, and this one's probably like more than 2-3 centuries old. This basic design. So okay, they kept that design, but then okay, this drives me nuts because the swords don't even look like swords in the evens. They're these curved, you know, batons, you'd think. So, but when it's an odd number, there's a sword in the middle. But when there isn't, they're curved, they intersect at 2 points, and then there's usually like a floral or plant design in the middle. So, and again, an odd number has a sword. So it doesn't tell you. Other little thing that drives me nuts is that how they do the Roman numerals for like 4 and a 9. You see they do 4 ones instead of 1 and 5, but I mean that's just me. But so you see there's just a lack of imagery with these. They're all like that. Here's the cups. This one doesn't have like the divine hand in it, or it doesn't even show water. Kind of shows more like a palace or like a temple. But then we have cups. So again, a lot of these like kind of floral and fleur-de-lis type designs, but you know, but that's like it. That's all you got to really go off of. And again, with the pentacles, there's no divine hand in these two. Two, we have like kind of like that. This is more like an S, whereas in a lot of other cards, they kind of show this like connection of the 2 pentacles with almost like an infinity symbol, like a twisted rope loop. But again, yeah, the floral designs, the plant-like designs, and this one has the pentacles. You have to actually count them. It doesn't even give you a number in the margins like in the other ones. So this one you have to, I mean, their pentacles are kind of arranged in a specific way so you can count them quickly, but still, kind of a little more work. And now here's the wands. So again, the wand looks very similar, branch with a divine hand, but these are straight. So first I was having a hard time even telling like which is a wand, you know, and which is a sword, because look at that, they're so similar. But you realize that the wands, you know, are straight and intersect only in the center, and the swords, using the term loosely, intersect at 2 points at the ends and they're curved. But yeah, it took me a minute to figure that out. Like, how am I supposed to tell, you know, this from this? Oh, okay. So could argue. Oh, so already there were some things I found a little jarring, you know, just doesn't feel very beginner friendly to me. But that's because I didn't begin on these. If you probably began on these, probably plenty beginner friendly. And there's some like pros and cons. So at first I'm looking at this and I'm going, maybe this was a mistake. I don't know if I'm ever going to use this. It's not very visually appealing. And then you're kind of forced to rely more on like memorizing what the card means, you know, rather than, you know, you don't have any imagery to draw off of. So I tend to call, but then again, there's some advantages to that. These are completely neutral cards, you know. There's not a lot of human value judgment in the minors, and these are called pip cards when they just have basically like a number in the suit, like a deck of cards. These are called the pips. So sometimes people call the Marseille deck, the Tarot de Marseille, a pip deck, and any deck that's inspired or derived from it is called a pip deck. Whereas if they have a lot of imagery in it, then there's called, you know, they're usually inspired by the Rider-Waite Smith deck. But yeah, so we have the Ace of Swords, very similar, but here we have, you know, she's blindfolded, you know, she's holding the two swords, you know, this usually represents making a choice, but usually like a difficult choice, or you feel blinded, you know, you're not, uncertainty. There's a lot of water energy, meaning there's a lot of emotion kind of wrapped up in this. It's a little hazy, foggy in the background. There's a lot of things you could go off with this, but I tend to tell people that to me, the swords is kind of a downer suit. Like, okay, oh, here, finally somebody's smiling. So she's blindfolded. She doesn't look too happy. Okay, 3 swords and a heart. That's not a very cheerful sign. Okay, a dead person. This guy's smiling but looking pretty smug, and that person crying in the background. And so, okay, not very positive. These people head down, you know, can't see their faces, but looks like they're fleeing, you know. Okay, this guy's smiling, but again, kind of smug, and 7 of Swords means like deception, you know. As just one of the key buzzwords there. Okay, 8, so there's not a single happy, genuinely happy looking card. It's like the, what is that movie? Requiem for a Dream. This is a suit, you know. There's no real happiness in that movie. There's kind of an illusion of happiness, but mostly that movie was a total downer, at least in my book. This person's crying in bed. You know, this lady's tied up and blindfolded and surrounded by swords in the muddy water. This dude's crying in bed. This person's been impaled 10 times. So it's like, I call the swords tends to be a downer suit. So already, you know, whereas this is more neutral, you know, you can interpret, you can just take like what the numbers tend to mean, like numerologically, and go off of that, and then go off of, you know, what the querent, the person, you know, that you're doing the reading for yourself, you know, fill in more with their own, you know, facts about the situation they're asking about. It leaves it maybe a little more open-ended, and you have less of, you know, this other imagery to get. Sometimes it does get in the way, you know, to be honest. Sometimes it's like, ooh, 7 of Swords, but this doesn't, the overall reading doesn't make it sound like this is, you know, somebody who's overly deceptive. Oh, but maybe it means but it does mean hiding, so maybe it means you have to hide something. Maybe it means you're hiding something from yourself. Maybe it means, somebody's withholding something. Could mean they're withholding something to surprise you, you know. But you first see it, you know, if you're having a generally positive reading, and then that card comes up, you might go like, ooh, you don't want to just say somebody's lying to you. It could mean something being withheld for a variety of reasons, you know. But seeing that can kind of be jarring at first. And Cups is kind of, you know, we have 2 of Cups, you know, so now Cups can just be any kind of emotion, any kind of relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. Like here we have the 2 of Cups, romantic implications there. Here we have friends, And we have somebody, okay, looking 4 cups, looking dissatisfied, or arms kind of crossed as a new cup is being offered to him. Here we have somebody looking like remorseful or, preoccupied with the spilled cups. And we have children, filling the cups with flowers. So we have the choices for the 7 of cups. We're walking away in the 8. This guy with his just looking a little smug, but kind of proud of his 9 cups there. And then we have the happy, family, happy home, happy marriage, happy family, card. So tends to have a lot of like more romantic kind of implications to it. And so you could say, well, it's kind of telling you how to feel about the situation. But then again, it also kind of gives you some more information to go off of, like you can tell somebody, okay, 5 of swords or 5 of cups. Oh, that means there's a change in a relationship coming. And then that person gets to fill in the details. But here you can say like, okay, this person's looking down at these cups that are spilled. They're ignoring these 2 cups behind them that they have. They're a little overly preoccupied with the negative here. Here we have, I interpret that to mean like, source, the universal love energy, that, you might not be looking at, you're too preoccupied with your problems to, remember to go to source. So, so I do like having the imagery to go off of, and I do like having other decks having kind of different energies about them for those interpretations. Or like we say 4 pen. So here we have, I do think that's neat how they kind of kept that, infinity symbol. Well, here it's just more of an S, but here it's like an infinity symbol. But, or like the 4, okay, this could mean financial stability. But here 4 tends to mean miserly, or like being overly preoccupied with your resources, or here you could just say, okay, you have some financial security, or maybe you have some financial stagnancy. Maybe you're looking to expand your business. If this reading's about a business, you could say, oh, looks like your business has kind of stagnated. You're not in a growth phase anymore and you need to grow. And maybe so at this, it could be like hoarding resources. Or in a relationship reading, and this comes up, you could say, well, you and your partner, potential partner, have some material stability, or could say, well, one of you is kind of withholding your wealth or hoarding your wealth from the other, might have hidden finances or hidden resources that they're not feeling like sharing with you. So, and again, it kind of implies that like 5s tend to have kind of like a, say, negative image, but something that kind of makes the change seem frightening, and we don't want that. So, so for me, the jury's still out. I'm going to try to get more comfortable with this, but because at first brush, it was kind of like, ugh, maybe I wasted $10. And it's, to be honest, not the most attractive deck. I really like the backs. Backs are pretty. Kind of, it's funny that it has such like this new agey, space vibe to it. And then it's like, like 300-year-old pictures on the other side that are kind of grim and very, very worldly. The people don't have a lot of, their faces definitely don't come alive, in this deck. But, so here we have conflict, people whacking at each other with sticks. But here we have somebody riding in triumphant, whereas, 6s mean like overcoming. Oops. This one kind of says like overcoming, and people are noticing it, in the public sphere. This guy looking like he's been beat up, and he's guarding those 9 wands there. And then 10 of wands, could mean the end of a project, but it tends to represent like being overburdened or, carrying more than you need, having too much on your plate. Here he's got so many, wands in his face, can't really see where he's going. He's pressing forward, but he doesn't have clear vision moving forward. Whereas this can just mean like, okay, it looks like he had a big, project, and it looks like it's kind of, coming to its natural conclusion. And hopefully, a new option will come up soon. Or maybe like your energy in this project or this endeavor is, kind of dying down a little bit, but it's like kind of reaching a natural conclusion, whereas it tends to show like a more overburdened vibe in most decks because they're derived from this deck. So anyway, that's kind of my opinion about these two. I just thought it'd be neat to do kind of like a quick, rough comparison. But yeah, I think I will work with the Tarot de Marseille. Maybe I'll pick up one that is a little prettier, a little more visually appealing. Maybe one that actually shows swords that look like swords. That would be nice. And wands that look like wands. Makes me a little uncomfortable how these look like fascia, bundle of sticks. That was used in like some fascist symbolism. Makes me a little uncomfortable, but that's maybe just me reading too much into it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little comparison. Let me know what you think. And again, could do a reading with these. You can always pick your preference of a deck. I have several to choose from, and it's always expanding. I think this means tarot deck number 11 now I'm at. And then I have several oracle cards. We can always do combinations. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found this kind of helpful or interesting at the very least. Rachel, and hope you have a great day.